All right, we are taking a deep dive into Appetite for Destruction, and we're bringing back a fun. What do we call those? What were we calling those little sections of our shows? Segments. A fun segment. Yeah, this is a great way to start the show, Greg. I'm stumbling over my words, but we're doing another. I saw it on the internet.
Yes.
Next on
Iller and Filthier.
Iller and Filthier.
One. Hey, Brian.
So, what are you doing, man?
Well, I sat back and thought about the things we used to do. We had a lot of fun.
You really want to do this with me?
Bro, you know I do.
It is episode 3 of Iller and Filthier, and I am Brian Simatras, your host. We have Greg all the way from up north, somewhere up north. I don't know where he's from. And we're diving deep into Guns N' Roses, their album, Appetite for Destruction. And like I missaid at the very beginning, I messed up, but we were doing we're bringing back a segment that we had from episode 1 called I Saw It on the Internet, and it's going to be a fun one tonight.
Saw it on the internet.
Greg,
What's up?
Feel like I have just come off of a cocaine binge over the weekend because I have, for the first time, listened to the Appetite for Destruction album.
It's beautiful.
First time I've ever bought anything Guns N' Roses, but I have it on vinyl. And I listened to it probably 5 times front and back this weekend.
Nice.
And we mentioned before that this isn't necessarily like my type of music that I grew up with, but I recognized like the hits that came out on the radio. And this is what was fun about our last episode 2, where we had a top 5 hair band albums of the 80s, and we ranked them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is the one that came up number 1, right?
It is. It kind of surprised me, but I couldn't deny their roots of LA and the Sunset Strip and what we talked about.
It was a fun episode, and I thought, well, let's see if we can take a deep dive into the album itself and really break down a lot of the songs, talk a little bit about the band, the guys that are in the band. And I'm just kind of curious, before we get into a lot of those details, do you remember growing up, and this was, what was it, 1987?
Yes.
I'm thinking 87, 88. Yep. I'm looking here on the backside.
This came out in 87.
Do you remember buying this album? And like, what were you doing at that time? Like what comes to mind, the feelings, the placement of where you are, what you were doing when you were listening to this? I'm curious, like, did you buy it on CD, cassette?
At that time would have been cassette. Yep. That was just a couple years before CD, which was awesome when CD came out. I love that. That was like, it was like when streaming happened, right? It's like life changing. And I think I was in middle school, 8th grade. And for me, this album, it's the MTV coverage. It's that moved into MTV rotation heavy. Right. And when it did, that's what really drove it for me, was the memories of the rotation it got and just seeing those guys. Because I think I remember hearing it more on MTV than the radio, for example.
Now, was this your type of music growing up? Because you grew up in Kansas City, right? Yep.
This was the kind of the edge of that hair metal. That was because it was 87. So like we talked about on our last show, this was kind of the tail end of hair metal, as it was kind of as the 80s were wrapping up. But yeah, that's all I listened to. I mean, that's honestly and then when they came on, they were a little more dangerous. There was a little more like street to them.
Yeah.
Then the hair metal guys you knew were like, they're not street. Like there was just a little bit of danger. And that's what I remember. Like,
that's an interesting point there.
Yeah. There's a little danger there.
I can kind of see that. I'm trying to remember back around that time, and again, I was in Los Angeles. Most of the people that I went to school with, I mean, we were listening to West Coast rap
Right.
and some of the pop that was coming out on the radio. But I mean, there's no doubt that you didn't know or didn't hear about Guns N' Roses. You mentioned MTV, and
Yeah.
I think on the last episode you had talked about the whole hair band, and
Yeah.
part of that is not only the music and the lead guitar, the big, what'd you say, the riffs and stuff, but it was the
Mhm.
visuals, and that ties in
Yeah.
exactly to what you're talking about with MTV.
Yeah. I mean, later on when they released November Rain, I mean, that was like a movie. I mean, that was cinematically shot music video. It was one of
Yeah.
those first where they probably even got a guy that's used to, I can't remember if it was one of the movie guys, because I know they started getting into that. But yeah, if you go back to that, like that, I used to sit down. It was that time. It was you'd sit down and watch MTV because there might be Headbangers Ball that was on at night, which is hilarious. Like a metal, they played metal videos for an hour, but that for guys that like that kind of music, it was cool. And then you're also seeing it. So there was a visual element that just was new at that time, right? You weren't,
Right.
that was MTV, that was early. And so that's how we were taking it in, visually and listening to it. And I think that's what did it for me, was just seeing those guys and that they could be, everybody that wanted to be a rock and roller was like, yeah, I want to do that. Like,
Now, any thoughts on your parents having an issue with you listening to them?
no,
Were
they
they
were, yeah, they were, my parents are super cool about music. They never gave me trouble about it ever. I mean, I remember it's just funny now to look back because like I remember playing like my mom would be like, I don't mind Metallica. They're not so bad. Just looking back, like listening to Creeping Death, in the car and they're just letting me play it. So yeah, they were pretty cool about that.
And is that
Um,
something that you think that you've kind of passed down with your kids? You've got
yeah,
two teenagers. Do you really not care what your
no,
kids are listening to? Or
no. We early on, I mean,
your
Evans is
daughter comes home, she's listening
yeah.
to Two Live Crew, and you're like,
Yep.
oh, yeah, hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was the skinny jeans stuff we were talking about, skinny jeans rap. But no, they should. And that's the whole thing. Nobody's parents like their kids' music, and
Yeah.
so we're just there. That's so it's normal. This is just how it's been for generations. When Elvis came out, everybody was like, "Oh, how terrible!"
Moving
for
his hips and
yeah, like how disgusting. And now there's wet ass pussy. Little wop.
we're talking about this weekend and really sitting down, and I listen to both sides of the record several times, and it is kind of funny because I just know that I do like, and I have a lot of opinions on the tracks that we're going to talk about, and I do think I agree with you that this is a fantastic album, and we ranked it number one of the 80s hairband albums.
Yep.
But
And
I felt like I was doing a hit of coke or something. Like I'm just listening to it, and my blood
intense,
pressure,
man.
and I'm just like, I feel like maybe I should be cleaning the house or doing something productive with this energy. And I get done with the second side, and I feel kind of worked up, and it's just different from the music that I normally listen to. Again, I'm back in the 80s, again, it was rap, it was pop. I was doing a lot of the the ballads too. I'm kind of a big ballads guy, so I'm kind of laid back. I'm into R&B stuff, so I'm kind of laid back with that. But listening to Appetite for Destruction, man, I'm telling you, I was like, I mean, it was just, it was a jolt to my system.
Yeah, it's intense, dude. This week, just listening but really listening, take it like that next level. Like I've just, it's so good. I realize why I like it. It probably is very inspirational, and I didn't even realize it, to how I play drums. Like that's what I realized this week is the way I play. Like my style, it'd be like a sports player, seeing somebody like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize like I mimicked that,
Right.
And Steven was like, I don't ever think of him as like an influential drummer, but when I listen to this record, it's very clean sounding. It was intended to sound handmade. It was produced for vinyl, like that sound they really wanted to capture.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the audio, that side of it, like how it actually sounds, is actually very, very cool too. And it was different. Again, it had that energy, that the 80s hair metal stuff. You can see how that was a leap to Nirvana and like the grunge era, right?
Okay.
Like that was the leap. That was the like, hair metal, cheesy kind of stuff. But then that anger and aggression starting to come out. And that's what I said last week on the episode too. We were talking about a lot of rock is very heavily blues based. But a lot of the hair metal bands were really rooted in blues, and there's a lot of punk rock in Guns N' Roses. That was more their influence, and you can just feel that come through. So we'll go through that chart one of these days.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward
the
to it.
roadmap, the music roadmap. We'll call it that. Like there's the music roadmap.
Well, I'm kind of curious. So I want to ask you a couple just bigger questions, and then we'll get into the tracks on the album. Now, I'm kind of curious what you think when when we talk about, let's say, the Beatles.
Yeah.
You can't imagine the Beatles without any of the four. You couldn't remove any one,
right,
and be like, okay, well, that really changes the Beatles. Now, from an outsider looking in, I think of Guns N' Roses as kind of no offense to the other two guys, but it's Axl and Slash. Am I wrong on that?
No, they're the most famous, and that's pretty typical for any band, really. I mean, like I think about Brian May and Freddie Mercury. I don't think about the other guys as much. I feel like that's kind of normal.
And I feel it's a little disrespectful, but what I want to ask you is,
wrong.
If you had to remove either Axl or Slash, who would have more an effect of being absent from that group? Or is it either way, you wouldn't have Guns N' Roses at all? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
because you're mixing in the visuals too, like you're talking about.
Well, they up until a couple years ago that they did exactly that. Slash has toured by himself for years, and Axl took Guns N' Roses out with all kinds of other dudes.
And how'd that go?
Just recently, probably what you think. I mean, there's a lot of mystique around Axl and Guns N' Roses. It's like that. You never know what he's going to do thing. He's very, it's just, that's his thing. And then Slash was just out for the music. I mean, Slash was just playing and it's hard to say. I mean, it's the voice and the sound. I mean, Slash's guitar is like legendary. I mean, it's the one guitar I can hear and immediately go like, that's Slash.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I love about. Yeah, he has a sound that is just awesome. And I was thinking about today. There's a lot of AC/DC in them. I feel like AC/DC is another one of those bands that just stands alone. They weren't hair metal. They weren't, but they made it through all that. They played, But yeah, Slash is just his sound is just there's something about it.
So you think that either one of them, you can't replace them. There's not one more irreplaceable than the other. That's what I was asking.
Yeah. And I'm glad they're playing together again. It's cool. I mean, they've been touring for a few years. They're just making so much money. They're printing money, but they've had a lot of members go through. I mean, they were a pretty volatile band that's had like the original bass player Duff, he's still playing with them, but Izzy, the other guitar player, he hasn't been around for a long time.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Izzy left the band sometime after their second, third albums kind of came out, but he was kind of one of the founding members, but I don't remember what happened. And then Steven the drummer had like a stroke or something from drinking and alcohol and stuff. But he left, and there's just been a lot of members where it was like Slash, Axl, and Duff. It's kind of like their band, it feels like,
Yeah, I think just with the sound, like Axl's voice is very iconic, very different
100%.
For me. And there's just something about his he's a fantastic front man. And I even remember goofing around when I was, 10 or something. I'd go around doing the Axl.
Oh yeah.
Just so stupid, but it's just like, it's just very iconic. But then you think about the MTV and you're seeing Slash up there with the fucking hat and just this mysterious person and just kind of just shredding on this guitar. And so would you consider Slash, is he considered one of the top guitarists of all time? Should he be top 50?
No,
top
he's
10?
He's like well respected from from true playing and like Eddie Van Halen's, type playing. He's not like that. He's just very highly respected. I think like other guitar players look at him and, he's just a rock guitar player guy, but he's up there. I mean, for sure. He's kind of legendary. Like
So
there's like an
technical
aura.
skills. So that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Technical
technically,
skill.
no, he's not the best technically,
Okay.
yeah, but he's just like, he's just the guy, like,
But name me somebody that has more it than he does.
right.
You know
That's
what I'm
what I
saying?
mean. Yeah. There's not many guys like that just are are the image of a band. Like you said, if you did the silhouette thing, like
Oh,
they
yeah.
talk about Jordan or like, the NBA guy, West,
Yeah.
is that it's like, you could do a silhouette and be like, yeah, that's Slash.
And I think no matter the genre of music that you're into, you see Slash, and I think you know who he is. Axl, I think is
Yeah.
kind of up there a little bit, but I don't know if people that are maybe into R&B and rap, I'd have to ask some of my friends, if they were to see a picture of Axl,
yeah,
they may
probably
say, well,
not.
he looks like every other white guy on a hairband. But Slash is just so
Yeah.
different, I think.
Yeah, and he's crossed over, he's played on a lot of people's records too, which is cool. Like he gets, well, he was just on the Ken, and Barbie, the Ken song, or he played that from the Barbie movie. I think Slash played on that.
Oh,
so
did he
just
really?
recently at like the Golden Globes or whatever was recently, Emmys or whatever, he played with them. So, he's just somebody that he's played with Chris Stapleton. Like
Sure.
he's connected to like everybody.
When I think of somebody that just has that on-stage presence, I can't think of really very many people that could beat Slash. And I don't think, does he talk much in interviews or anything? Does he purposefully, he's the quiet,
He's kind of quiet,
broody
yeah.
type?
Yeah, he's gotten a little bit. I mean, he's in a lot of documentaries and stuff I've watched, so he's clearly willing to like, chat with people.
Right.
But yeah, you don't see tons of like, stuff on it. He's probably pretty quiet in general.
Well, I'm going to put up a, so this is from, let's see here. I'm going to break this out on the window here so I can manipulate a few things. And this is how we're going to kind of go through each of the songs on
Nice.
Appetite for Destruction. So this is from Paul Brannigan. And I believe, I want to make sure that we give credit to where credit's due, from Louder Magazine, part
Nice.
of the classic rock section. And he has Appetite for Destruction, every song ranked from worst to best. And then I was just going to have you go along and we'll see what he says about it and then get your input. And we just kind of talk about it.
Be interesting to see like if he took what approach he took,
Yeah. And then if you notice there at the bottom on the crawler, I have YouTube streams.
Oh, nice.
Of
Okay.
every song on Appetite for Destruction. And I was actually kind of shocked that which song here was the number one here. Let me see.
I'm surprised You're Crazy is the low. I guess that kind of makes sense.
I think, yeah, You're Crazy by far the lowest, but was it here? It's going to come back around. Sweet Child of Mine, 2.4 billion streams on YouTube.
Yeah,
I would have thought it was Welcome to the Jungle. Welcome to the Jungle is only 804 million.
Yeah, it's Sweet Child because of the crossover. Like there's been other people that do that song. They just like Sheryl Crow covered it, I think, or sang it. Mizzou grad.
That's right. Cheryl, yeah.
But no, I think that's just a very popular song because of the ballady feel to it. It's not quite ballad, but
I mean, it was a huge song, but I was just kind of shocked that it was that far ahead of.
Yeah. Appetite was, Welcome to the Jungle was like the intro that, that was like what exposed you to them. But from there, I think the songs got bigger, like I'm surprised. Yeah.
So Sweet Child of Mine, 2.4 billion. Welcome to the Jungle, 804 million. Paradise City, 975 million.
Yeah.
And then it drops off to It's So Easy, 41 million, 38 million, 30 million. So let's go through what Mr. Brannigan has. And I'll be curious to see what Greg, if he's shocked to see how Paul Brannigan has his ranked or not.
Yeah.
But the worst one, let's say, number 12. Let's just not, I'm not
Yeah.
going to say worst one because this is a
Yeah.
really good album. Is Anything Goes. So he has it as number 12. And
Yeah.
his little ditty on this is written in 1983 by Axl Rose, Izzy Stradlin, and Hollywood Rose guitarist Chris Webber, and originally titled My Way, Your Way. The sleazy, horny Anything Goes is one of the oldest and weakest songs in the Guns N' Roses catalog. The lyric, panties round your knees with your ass in debris, is memorable. The song itself, much less so. So what are your thoughts on that? Anything Goes, 5 million streams on YouTube. So it is the second least streamed song.
Yeah, it's by its placement on, I'm just going to peek at this, by its placement on the album, because I think Rocket Queen is so badass. It's such a good song and it's behind it. That I think it's a skippable song of people that have like, so I kind of get
side
that.
B.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I'm looking
The
at the
second
track
to last
list.
song.
Even if you were, I mean, if I was a kid back in the day, I would skip my CD past that, skip Anything Goes. Let's listen to Rocket Queen. So I get it. There's a few there that I get that are kind of fillers, but I'd agree with that. And You're Crazy too. Those are the two I'd put probably 11 and 12.
Okay. So You're Crazy. Yeah. So that's 11 that he
The only
has
thing
as
cool-
11.
The only thing I'll say about that is what's interesting is, and it says it there, but they put out like an acoustic album right after this called
Mhm.
Lies, and You're Crazy. It was all acoustic. That's where Patience came from.
Okay.
And You're Crazy was on there. It was way better song that way. It was really
Acoustically.
cool. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Super. That version is super cool.
Well, I'll have to go check that out. So let's see what he had to say about this one. You're Crazy, number 11. Originally titled Fucking Crazy and written about a female acquaintance. You're Crazy was conceived as an acoustic song. So Greg was up on that, with Axl in a rare moment of compromise changing the title so that it might get a shot at radio airplay. Producer Mike Klink encouraged the band to record it in a faster electric form for Appetite, but the fact that the quintet returned to the original acoustic version for Guns N' Roses Lies tells its own story. So yeah, Greg was all up on that one.
Yeah, it's a fun. I like it because I do like the words. They're funny. When he says "you're fucking crazy," it's great. It's perfect.
And that one there, he's got it at 11, and then You're Crazy looks like 4.3 million. So that was the least streamed.
Yeah,
there.
I will say, Anything Goes is a really fun song too. But that's what's funny about it. It's a filler song, but there's a cool vibe to it. So I'm going to say that.
And you're saying that even this, you're debating whether this is your favorite all-time album. And if that's the case, are you still skipping these bottom songs?
No, I didn't this week. Okay. Now I kind of let stuff play. I think that I just enjoy listening to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to skip it per se.
And I made a point to listen to every single one. And I will say, we'll catch up on this as we get through more of these songs. There was one side of the album that I was like, I thought was far better. Like I have a desire to go listen to the one side more than I do the other.
Yeah, the first side is bangers. I mean, 1 through 6 is like, those are like huge hits.
It's really good.
Yeah,
it's really good. Especially again,
those are
me
big
saying
songs. But that's why those plays are so big. I mean, those are their hits. I mean, those are the 4 songs that casual fan radio listeners are going to know, or the 4 that have the most plays. That's what makes sense. So the only thing I would do is I would realize that I would put Think About You at 12. That's my least favorite song. And I would bump up Anything Goes, because I actually really like Anything Goes. It's kind of a fun song.
All right. Well, speaking of Think About You, he's got it at 10, written by Izzy Stradlin, pre Guns N' Roses. A sweet, upbeat Think About You is described by its author as a quick love song about drugs, sex, Hollywood, and money. That Guns largely abandoned the song once they graduated from the LA club scene, only restoring it to the set list post-Chinese democracy, suggests even they considered it filler.
Yep, that sounds right.
So
it's not filthier though; it's filler.
This is it's interesting hearing from you and then listening to a music critic also, as somebody that's kind of discovering this album. So it is kind of interesting, and those are songs that they were fine. You know? So number 9, he's got Rocket Queen, and that's the one you kept telling me to listen to.
That's wrong. Yeah, that's where he's wrong.
Most infamous for the fact that it features the sound of Axl Rose having sex with Steven Adler's then girlfriend, Adriana Smith. Quote, "I did it for the band," the former dancer later stated. Rocket Queen was Rose's tribute to his friend Barbie Von Grief, who he acknowledged kept him alive for a while. Appetite's closing track, it's an explosive end to a jaw-dropping album. And if I remember, that's a long song too, right?
Yeah, and it almost is like 2 songs. Man, that's got to be way up. It's got to be higher than that. I don't know why it's such a cool song. I mean, it's probably Beatles-esque in the way it has 2 different parts of the song.
Right.
I love that song. Yeah, I mean, that's it. To me, it's a great album closer. It's cool when a band does that.
I didn't know when you had me listen to it, and then I had read this. When I first was listening, I thought that the sound was, at the beginning of the song, it almost sounds like something's creaking, and I was like, was that just like the bed creaking? I was like, that's not nothing. But I guess the sound is at the end, right? Sort of.
Yeah. It's in the middle. There's like a breakdown, and it just kind of builds up right before it goes into the last chorus. Rocket Queen, they did it pretty well. But yeah, it was a revenge sex. So she was mad at Steven and did that to piss him off. So just classic 80s debauchery.
It's really this is really cool that a lot about this, and this is why I enjoy doing something like this with you, because we're getting 2 different perspectives on really listening to this album again in 2024.
I nerd out on this stuff. I mean, I love, part of it is just the knowledge of learning how to record here at my house. Like learning that, I love to hear how things are done, but I love everything. I love all band stories. Because it's probably the closest thing. I mean, I've been in them. Yeah. And it's cool when you see them. Like there's not much difference between just a crappy band and a huge band. I mean, just the logistics are different, but like the same
amount of
things
drugs and debauchery is different.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. But like just the way you write stuff, so what songs mean, how they came about, names of bands, names of songs, like all of that, and how they make stuff is I just super nerd out on it.
Yeah. Well, I've got a question for you coming up, and it's not on this song here. So number 8, he's got My Michelle. Written about Axl's former girlfriend, Michelle Young. My Michelle is a striking portrait of a young woman staring into the abyss. Quote, "I was driving Axl to a gig and your song by Elton John came on the radio."
Oh, man.
Young later explained, quote, "I said that I wish somebody would write a beautiful song about me. That's not quite what she got, but for those of us peeking into her decadent lifestyle from the outside, this was a grimly compelling and rather scary insight into an unimaginably fucked up world." So what are your thoughts on My Michelle?
That's another one I like. I get it. It's one I push down the list when you start thinking about, it's more like not that they belong at the bottom. It's more like the top is heavy, right?
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
But yeah, it's a good, I like it though. It's rocking. It's another one that has like kind of 2 tempos, which I kind of dig. That's probably kind of a punk rock thing. But yeah, that's kind of cool. And then the lyrics are funny.
And My Michelle looks like you got about 15 million streams on YouTube.
Yeah.
So it kind of coincides a little bit with how you guys rank these. You might have a few songs a little different than he does.
Yeah.
Especially Rocket Queen, but
it's more like I said, it's more about the top down. I feel like there's just going to be a song that has to be 12 and there's nothing wrong with it. You know?
No, I get it.
But yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
There's a couple, but even listen to them today. Like I said, I've been listening to it like today all week, and I was just like, they're still good songs. Like you don't have to skip them if you're like when you're working on something, or if you're working out, it can just play.
Yeah,
and it just feels good,
Yeah, I think so. There's some that I just gravitate more over the others, mostly the big radio ones, because again, that's where I heard them. Now here we're at a song here that caught my attention on discovering this album this weekend, Mr. Brownstone.
Yeah,
I listened to this, and the very intro of it had me kind of like interesting. I'm actually I need to ask Greg, Like, I don't know what instruments are going on at the beginning. Like, is that a guitar making that sound or what? But it's just,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
different kind of a sound.
Yep.
And listening to it, I was like, I think this is my next favorite song after the big ones.
Yeah, that's a guitar with crazy delay in it, and just big drums, just a lot of big reverb room sound stuff.
Yeah.
But it and delays. But yeah, it's super cool. I love that song. I like that as like it didn't get as much radio play, but I always feel like that was a song we all listened to.
Really?
Like
Okay.
if you're with your friends, like that song came on. Besides the big hit songs, that was kind of the next one. I mean, I think it probably got some radio play, but I don't think they did I don't remember a video or anything for that one.
Yeah, that one there
'Cause
looks
back
like
in those
27
days,
million
it was video.
streams.
Yeah.
Was the
if
video you said?
Yeah, what I was saying is like in that time, it was, I think you were on the radio, you were on MTV. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
kind of both. Like, so a single had to have a video, right? Like,
Right. Well, I don't think it, unless you're into Guns N' Roses, I don't know necessarily if you're going to know the song Mr. Brownstone, but here's what he's written about it. A Grammy Stones inspired song about heroin written by one-time drug dealer Izzy Stradlin. Quote, "It's not so much a statement about our drug habits," insisted Stradlin. "It's more a statement about other people's drug habits. The I used to do a little, but a little wouldn't do, so the little got more and more lyric would prove prophetic for certain members of the band. Never destined to be a single, it's undeniably infectious, but a song to be kept at arm's length." I liked it. That
Yeah,
was the
yeah,
first new song off this album when I was listening this weekend. I was like, I
yeah,
dig this one.
yeah. This, yeah, it's. I dig it. I dig it too. I like it. It's like they said, it's a good description. Kind of grimy. It just feels dark, but it's just great.
So the next song up, he's got as number 6, as he's ranking them, is Out to Get Me. Regularly dedicated at gigs to the LAPD, the furious fuck everyone anthem Out to Get Me was a largely biographical tale of the band being hassled by cops, landlord, drug dealers, girlfriends. Some people got a chip on their shoulder, whines Axl knowingly, and some would say it was me. It scores its ranking here on attitude alone. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, just another track that jumps off when I listen to it because it's aggressive. Again, the aggressive nature. Kind of what I said earlier. Like the hair bands was all about party and alluding to things.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses said those things. Like he would say, "Bend over, I'm gonna fuck you," not like something in the hair bands would be like, you know, "Hey, I'm gonna bananas and cheer." It's like it was all alluding
slippery
to
when wet or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Or, right.
But for some reason, it was like hearing Axl say say those things and swear all of that again. And you're talking to him. I was middle schooler at the time, 8th grade. So it just like was like whoa, just kind of just dangerous. And this song, even today, still I like it. I thought I heard it was written about where he grew up, and just getting like the local cops and stuff were always on him.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a cool get off my back kind of like, I'm a tough guy kind of vibe.
All right, number 5 on his list is Night Train, and I'm going to tell you, after Mr. Brownstone, this is the other song of the new songs that I heard on this album that I was like, I'm digging this one too. So a dedication to the cheap fortified wine guns lived off of while sharing digs at the infamous Hell House. It's $1 a bottle, 19% alcohol, and after a quart of it, you'll black out, noted Axl approvingly. Too scuzzy and grubby to gain true mass appeal. More than any other song on Appetite, it conveyed the idea of Guns as a street gang, fucked up, bonded by booze, and forever itching for the next rumble. Very kind of similar to what you're talking about with Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, it was a melodic song to me, like so a little more good rock song versus Out to Get Me had a little more of that aggression in it, but Night Train kind of had that melody, I'm on the night train.
Yeah,
just a really cool, catchy song. But it had edge still.
Yeah, it's definitely very memorable for me also.
Bottoms up.
So here we get into the top 4 that
Okay.
he has. Paradise City at number 4. And real quickly, I'll just read. If much of Appetite for Destruction declares that Los Angeles is a dirty, depraved, dangerous shithole, Paradise City is the album's kicker, an admission that Guns N' Roses wouldn't want to be anywhere else. The quintet's first UK top 10 single. Its simplistic sing-along melody is arguably a little too keen to please, though the song may have had less global appeal had the band not changed its original lyric, "Take me down to Paradise City where the girls are fat and they got big titties." Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the original lyric?
Yeah, they changed a lot of stuff. I mean, that's not surprising. There's so many things they've done to, again, it's to try to get it on the radio. Somebody somewhere was like, dude, that's a great line, but you won't get it on the radio unless you're a rap song.
So, in Paradise City for you, I mean, is that the top songs here, or would these be considered Greg's top?
That's a huge anthem. I put that up there for me with like the Rock and Roll All Night kit. You know what I mean? Just that true anthem, full stadium. You know, I think the video shows them, whereas like the video to Welcome to the Jungle was like kind of club scene.
Yeah.
Paradise City video was like them in football arenas on these massive stages. And I always just thought that was such a cool shot too, the way they shot that video. Yeah. It was written about, they went to Seattle on this terrible trip and came back, and he wrote that in the van as they were like rolling into LA, like glad to be home, like take me back to the Paradise. It was all kind of in like jest a little bit because their trip was so shitty that they were so glad to be back in LA.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And it's cool. It's another one of those, it's kind of a simple song, but just the melody is just huge. Sing along.
Yeah. No, I again, I mean, one of the big radio hits. So, I mean, I loved it then and still love it now. So number 3, he's got It's So Easy. Now I would switch these two just because I'm a basic Guns N' Roses guy. But It's So Easy is another great song. Guns' first UK single. So I guess this article in the magazine is from the UK. A snarling, seething introduction which double dared you to get closer to these obnoxious, aggressive, misogynistic shitbags. It's hardly the band's most sophisticated tune, but no other early Guns song carries such bad boy menace. I see you standing there. You think you're so cool, spat Axl. Why don't you just fuck off? Now that is how to make a first impression. So what are your thoughts on that one?
100%. It's what I was just saying. There was just, he said things that weren't said in different, you know, like even thinking about the 50s, I fought the law and the law won. That's basically saying fuck off. Right. But Axl just says fuck off. But yeah, this one, it's number 2 on the track. Welcome to the Jungle ends, and then that beginning starts up of It's So Easy, and it just, I can hear it. It's so beautiful in the order. I'm somewhere between 3 and 4 in it, just because I think Sweet Child and Welcome Jungle are such good songs. But It's So Easy is one of my favorite ones. I've always wanted to play that in my band.
Oh, cool.
It's just such a rock song.
I'll need to go back and listen to that a few more times then, because just off the top of my head right now of the new songs, I don't quite remember listening to that one.
Listen to how it comes out of Welcome to the Jungle. Like you listen to Welcome to the Jungle and then be like, now It's So Easy is just going to punch you in the face a little bit. You know, like it just, I kind of dig it. It just, that's what I like about the album, the way it flows, the songs, the way they go together. It's super cool.
Yeah, I think that would be cool if we were closer together, like having a night to where we listen to an album and then you kind of break down some of the technical stuff, like you're talking about how certain songs lead into another one, or even one of the earlier ones. What was it?
It's like you said, when you're playing an album,
Rocket Queen.
When you play an album, you know, on a record player, like, you know, you listen to the side, and then that's what's cool about these is you learn the patterns and you kind of learn what's coming. And the same thing with like a CD, you know, but eventually you could start skipping. When I had tapes back in the day, cassette tape was the same way. You kind of had to let it play. I mean, you could skip, but sometimes it just let it play. And then the CD came out. I was like, oh, now I can skip. And now with streaming, you can just pick, you know, you don't even need, you know, so, but
it's all singles nowadays.
Yeah.
So the last two, he's got Sweet Child of Mine at number 2, Welcome to the Jungle at number 1. And I'm not going to get into reading it more because we don't have a lot of time to get into his things, but I'm curious, okay, Is that the correct order, or would you switch that order? I think you said earlier, Sweet Child of Mine would be your number one. Maybe.
I think as a song, I think the list is fine. I mean, I think you could argue any of those orders, but yeah, I would leave Welcome to the Jungle just because it's like Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's just the song that it introduced you to the band, right? Like you can't help but like tie it together, and it's a great song. I mean, it's still played at football stadiums, and that's why I was laughing the other night when I was watching the Stanley Cup and it was playing. And that was a couple nights after our last episode, and I took a picture of it, put it on our Instagram. because I was like, it's just funny. It's just like, oh, we just talked about this. I mean, but Sweet Child is pretty. That's your first ballad,
Yeah.
Or their version of it, right? It wasn't a true like 80s hair metal ballad by any means, but it just kind of had that sweet side. And that's what I like, albums that give you that aggression, but also like can pull you back, like you said. Not every song has to make you feel like you want to like strangle somebody, or run through a wall. And yeah, the joke comment, Slash was warming up running scales on his guitar. So that would be a sports version of like just warming up, or guitar players have to run scales to get their fingers loose. And he was just doing that, and Axl heard it, ran in and was like, dude, what are you doing? So that's why Slash doesn't love that, because it was just him goofing around, and it stuck, like that being the beginning of Sweet Child.
It's so funny hearing stories like that. And I've been heavily invested in listening to the Beatles stuff the last 6 months to a year, watching all the documentaries, the Get Back, and all the stuff that Peter Jackson has cleaned up. And you're hearing about some of it. They're not necessarily initial mistakes, but how certain things just kind of happen. Yeah. And then that's just the way it is. Yeah. Like you can't imagine it being anything else other than that. So it's funny to hear that Slash was just kind of messing around,
Yeah. And that happens a lot. I mean, that's one of my most favorite things about making music is super cool, because it's how things like that can happen, how it can be total accidental. Sometimes they're very purposeful. Somebody comes in with a whole song written, but other times, like, that's the most fun, is when things just happen. And again, in those days, you didn't have all the digital equipment to fix stuff. So some of it's just, you hear things that aren't right. And that's why you hear like a lot of famous musicians talking about those days where now everything can be fixed. Like,
well, and then that's where people kind of get into trouble, right? I mean, you talk about kind of the same thing with George Lucas and Star Wars, that he goes back and fixes things that he's wanted to fix, but nobody wants it fixed.
Yeah.
And then it screws it up. So it's like, well, what do you go back and change, or you just leave things be? Jeff Moon's in late. He had to work hard, working late tonight. Jeff, thanks for showing up.
Super. This album, though, just the way it sounds and the way stuff like that comes together is super cool.
Well, without us doing something like this, I would just think of Guns N' Roses as a couple singles here and there, more than that, but just I actually appreciate them more. Going through this with you now, and listening to the stuff, and how really complex some of the songs when they're put together. I'm listening with an amateur ear, and I'm like, well, that's okay. I mean, that's pretty cool. That's got to be hard to do. And that's why we have you here, because at some point, maybe we get to the point to where we actually break down like what is actually going on. Because I don't know.
I thought about doing that this week. I might give it a shot to try to record myself playing to one of the songs, and I can merge the two together.
That would be really cool.
My track with their kind of thing. I might give that a shot. Just be fun to try it. Did you look in the cover? Do you have the alternate cover on the inside of yours? Have you heard about that before we head off? This will be like our PS.
Let's see here.
Do you have the?
He's talking about.
Do you have the
liner notes? Is this what you're talking about?
Yep. So that was supposed to be the original artwork of the album, and the record company's like, no effing way, because look at the girl. I mean, just think about that if it was a real picture, and not like, I mean, she's not, it's not a good, like, so they changed it to Axl, I think, has the tattoo on his arm. But yeah, that's the original artwork. That's controversial.
So what we see in here was supposed to be correct front and back. Is this
Yeah,
the front and back?
I believe so. No, I think that's one picture. I
Well, I mean,
thought.
but it's a. Oh, they were going to have it like
Oh, maybe.
this.
Yeah, maybe you could be right. I'm not
So
sure,
I'm
but
thinking
yeah,
because there's the square here, so
yeah,
one would be the front and one
yeah.
would be the
Like
back.
alien dude, pants down, girl on the floor. Like
I mean, that is kind of crazy.
yeah, and it wouldn't fly today.
I mean, there's no way your mom and dad are letting you bring this home.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. All right. Have you seen Spinal Tap?
Love it. Yeah.
Okay.
Christopher Guest. I love that whole crew.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a funny tie. Like, do you remember that when they were talking about their album cover in Spinal Tap, and they got mad because their record guy, manager guy's like, you have to change this because they had a woman tied up, and their like rival guy came out with a record, and he was tied up. And they were like, why does his work? And they're like, because he's the victim. Like, and they were like, oh.
We have got, please write down somewhere. We have got to do Spinal Tap because that is right up our alley. Yeah. I remember watching that movie and just snotting myself laughing because
it still holds up.
When he wrote down, when they were doing like the Stones, and then he wrote down 7 inches instead of 7 feet or something.
Yes.
It would drop it down. And I was.
Yeah. All right. So that's our roadmap.
That could be one for down the road.
Yeah,
oh my God. I love that you brought that up.
That's
all right. Well, that will take us to our, well, it's not a new segment because we did it in the first episode, but we're bringing back a segment, which is called, what's it called, Greg?
The internet.
I think the podcast or the show doing it with you is fun. Just to see what you put together for our jingles and stuff, you know?
I think so. I mean, and if anybody out there wants to sign Brian and I to like sing for commercials, we can try to squeeze you in with our schedule.
So answer me this question. Your wife, Rachel, she into getting her nails done, like big into nail stuff?
No, but we have friends that are, and my daughter's kind of getting into it. Like she likes to go spend her money on nails.
Well, hopefully she's not on TikTok.
Oh no.
So
she is.
Here's the latest thing that I've seen on the internet that I wanted to get Greg's take on. Okay. So there is this thing called new nails. It's huge on TikTok. And the music and stuff, don't worry about it. It has nothing to do with it's more of the visuals of girls just showing off their new nails.
Okay.
And there are just videos upon videos of girls showing off their nails. And I don't know, are you taking a look at any of the details of what's going on in these videos?
Yes. Yes.
So why I'm bringing this up, Greg?
Uh-oh.
I mean, on top of I saw it on the internet and I want to get your take on it, is recently in the last couple of weeks, my other show that I host by myself, the Tossing Salad podcast, I've had an account there for I don't know how many years. I was banned forever.
Okay.
Just out of the blue. Completely banned forever. Yeah. Like I was scrolling through.
Okay.
And all of a sudden my window blows up and it was making me go back into log back in. I was like, well, that was weird.
I saw your post, man.
As I log back in, it says you have been permanently banned for violating community guidelines. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because Tossing Salad podcast is very similar to Iller and Filthier in a sense that it's just a bunch of fun content. It's just me having a good time interviewing people. We're talking Beatles. We're talking concert photography. There's nothing that I'm posting out there that requires me to get a permanent ban.
Yeah.
And yet, all over TikTok, this new nails trend is going around.
Right.
And for those of you that are listening to Iller and Filthier right now and maybe not being able to see the video that we've got on here, it's girls that have their nails done, right? Beautiful nails.
Yeah.
And they're showing them off on top of their boyfriend's pants.
Yep.
On their sweats or their
But
shorts.
It doesn't look like that at first. It just looks like
because you're focusing on the nails because it's a new nails trend.
Right.
But the thing behind this trend is that you're showing the outline of your boyfriend's penis.
Shlimmy long.
And they touch it as they are flipping their hands around. And I'm like, look, does it bother me? No. Are we competing against this content? Yes. Are they banned? I don't know. Not now because you can see their content.
Do you still don't know what you got banned for?
I can't.
God.
I can't log in to appeal it because there's nothing. I have no account, so I have to try to contact them through my other TikTok accounts.
Yeah.
And for the last 3 weeks, every so often, I will send another message.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, my podcast account was permanently banned. I have no way of appealing or asking you guys what happened. Can somebody help me? But this is on my other accounts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just got a response back 2 days ago that we're going to take a look at. It was an automated response. And then within seconds, it came back again. Nope, you violated community guidelines. And I'm like, what am I violating?
Well, I don't know what's wrong.
You know, if I haven't violated before, well, why am I being banned on maybe one thing that I've posted?
Right.
Or if I've posted a lot of different things, why haven't I been notified then?
Yeah.
That I'm constantly going against the community guidelines.
Right. You're like, but what? Yeah.
Is this not crazy though? I mean,
yeah. I hope my daughter's not doing that.
Well, that's why I was asking about Rachel if she gets her nails done.
No.
And then if you own gray sweatpants, because I guess gray sweatpants are a thing for guys that are. I mean, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
I'm playing the video again for Greg, so and then she's touching.
Yeah, and then just look, and that's in the shop.
I mean, some of these things look like somebody's leg. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Damn lucky.
Wait a minute. Jeff Moon's Jeff's going to be my favorite listener because he's been on every one of our shows. He said, holy hell, this is a lot of sausage rubbing.
Yeah.
But what about the nails though, Jeff? These are pretty nice nails. This one's bad. She's married. She's got a diamond ring on.
Yeah.
That's her husband.
They must be newly married.
But like that looks like a third leg.
Freaking Lance.
I mean, and of course we'll have this on, and then we'll be the ones to get banned on YouTube for showing this.
So is it? God, that's so funny. Can you get in trouble for like if somebody posted something on yours? You know what I mean? Like was it somebody that maybe commented and then like I wonder how it.
That's the thing though.
Yeah, it's like what happened. Yeah, there's got to be a way
just
to
tell
know.
me what. Yeah, but even in contacting them through my other accounts, and then finally getting some response back, it seemed like it was just an automated response. There's nobody looking, right? And my thing is just tell me what I did, and I'll be happy to look at it or address it or something. But I don't know. And having looked up on Reddit and just doing a general search, there's a lot of people that have been getting their accounts banned, not just on TikTok, but Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, and
for like random stuff.
And they say they have no idea. Now, before I got banned, I when I saw those posts, I'd be like, okay, yeah, all right. You don't know what you did. You're probably one of these accounts that pushes the boundaries. So I always kind of rolled my eyes, and then it happens to me, and I'm like, Jesus, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that sucks, dude. Yeah, that's and it's maddening as hell too. You know, it's like you said, you just want to fix whatever the problem is or find out.
But that's,
or if it's wrong, you just want to get me back up and going. Yeah, give me back.
Just tell me what's wrong. But then when you all of us we've been scrolling through social media on every one of the platforms. You come across questionable stuff all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then on top of this one, there was another one I was gonna show you, but I was like, yeah, I can't show you too much because the other kind was breastfeeding videos are huge.
Oh sure, yeah.
Greg's acting like he hasn't heard. Just
really?
Yeah, But
that's weird.
It's breastfeeding videos under the guise of just breastfeeding is just a beautiful thing, mother, and I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But you watch these videos, and I'm not watching the videos, but I'm saying when you watch them for doing research for our show, it's mostly fake babiys.
Oh, really?
And so you run into the comment section to watch, and then all these guys are on there. They're all doing. I was about ready to say we're all doing. They're all doing the same thing because they're watching and they're calling out the women that are using fake babies, but they're showing the full boob.
Like, I'm not worried about the fake babies. I want to see the fake boobies.
So that is the latest that is out there on the internet. Episode 3, we're at the very end. We had a great one. Greg, anything else that you want to add to the Appetite for Destruction conversation that we've had?
No, just listen to it end to end. Listen to that second one again. It's so easy.
It's so easy. I'll listen to that one again.
But listen to,
do you not get like work? I mean, like when you're listening to it, I think that's just the personality difference. Like if that's your kind of music, you can.
It depends on the day. No, if I for work and things like that, if I need to focus or whatever, I like something that's a little more in the background. So I listen to a couple other genres of music for that, but that's more like, if I need a little energy, feel good.
I feel like the Saved by the Bell episode where they all took like uppers or whatever, because I listened to the front and back of this episode or this album, and like my energy level, and I was just like, and I'm just like worked up, and like my body felt weird, but I was like, this is pretty good stuff.
Yeah,
so
that's what most rock does. It makes you want to dance a little bit. It's dancey, it's fun. That's why I dig it.
All right, so we are at the end. Appreciate everybody stopping by. If you guys have a comment as to Appetite for Destruction, what's your favorite song, favorite track on the album? Let us know in the comments. Hit us up, slide into our DMs. Even if you've got your nails done, show us those nails. And Greg, we will see you next week.
Sounds good, brother.
Later, guys.